So, President Hakainde Hichilema says the reason why Bill 7 received so much resistance to a point of its failure is because we hate him. Let's get into that. You see, a few days ago, President Hichilema held a conference meeting at State House with the civil society organizations. And during that conference meeting, President Hichilema said the reason why Bill 7 failed is because we don't like him. And then he went further to say, previous administrations before his administration were allowed to amend the constitution. Why can't his administration be allowed to do the same? He went further explaining to say, UNIP amended the constitution twice, in 1973 and 1991. MMD came in and amended the constitution in 1996. And more recently, when PF amended the constitution in 2016. So why can't he do the same? Or rather, why can't we, the Zambian people, allow his administration to amend the constitution? Let's get into that. So let's go back to 1973, the first amendment. Increasing challenges from opposition parties to Kaunda's dominance over the country during the First Republic eventually forced Kaunda to institutionalize a one-party state as a way to prevent ethnic rivalries and promote national unity. It was argued that the elimination of political pluralism will lead to unity and foster socio-economic development. Let's go further. In a highly remote-controlled process by the Kaunda administration, a new constitution which abolished multipartism and declared UNIP the only party recognized by law was passed in 1973. This development reinforced presidential rule in Zambia as the president became the key player on the political scene. So Kaunda's justification to amend the constitution was unity. Now, this was Mingalato in a way. He used, let's just say, he took advantage of the situation at the time. But there were ethnic rivalries, and he believed the best way to solve this was just to create a one-party state and shut out everybody else who wants to create a political party. That could be inspired by ethnicity. This wasn't the best way to solve this problem, but that's what he saw was best for him at the time. Let's continue. Fast forward to 1991, when the Zambian people woke up and realized that Kaunda might have finessed them into becoming a one-party state. Let's get into it. Unable to resist the winds of change that were blowing across the continent with the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War in the early 1990s, a new CRC headed by Professor Mpanza Patrick Mvunga was appointed by Kaunda to draft a new constitution that will restore democracy. This was the Constitution Act that was promulgated on August 31st, 1991. Now, he had no choice here. What was the justification for amending the Constitution? Well, the people demanded to amend the Constitution to take the country into a multi-party democracy. Justification? The people. The people's will was working here. Let's continue. Enter 1996, the first constitutional Mingalato under a democratic Zambia. Let's get into it. With the demise of Kaunda and the election of Frederick J.T. Chiluba as president, a new attempt was made to get a lasting constitution for Zambia. A new commission chaired by John Mwanakatwe was appointed in 1993 to draft a constitution. Unfortunately, the process failed to win popular support, and a resulting constitutional amendment in 1996 was considered to lack legitimacy, as most of the Commission's recommendations presented in 1995 were ultimately rejected by the government. Now, there was Mingalato here. Despite the constitutional amendment not receiving popular support, people didn't want it, they didn't ask for it, but Chiluba decided to just bulldoze it and do what he wanted, basically. Things were very different back then. Democracy, we were still new at democracy at that time. Also, it was also a way to prevent Kaunda from bouncing back into power. Sound familiar? Let's continue. Now, what we must understand is this. As long as Bill 7 is still lingering around, it's been halted. this is likely to happen. Where, yes, they've put a hold on it, but they can quickly want to bulldoze it. But lucky for us, we are now an advanced democracy compared to 1996. We are not going to let that happen. Otherwise, Bill 7 must be withdrawn. Let's continue. Finally, we arrive in 2016, the last time we amended our constitution. You people already know why we amended the constitution. I don't need to get into that. This video is getting too long. Justification, well, we had to amend the constitution to introduce running mate. Why? Because we had lost 2 sitting presidents and we had to go to by-elections. So to prevent that from happening the 3rd time, we had to amend the constitution. We also introduced things like 50+1, which is a far much better and superior way to calculate who the winner is. And we also had to introduce other things like dual citizenship. You need a grade 12 in order to stand for MP, so on and so forth. Now, goes back to the answer, or rather to the question, do we hate President Hakainde Hichilema? Is that the reason why we haven't allowed him to amend the constitution? No, we do not hate you, nor dislike you, Your Excellency. I personally don't. I will admit that I strongly critique you, because I expected better. You promised us better, right? The thing is this, the way you implemented this Bill 7 is the problem. The process has been the problem. We were not engaged. We were not asked. You even went as far as accusing us of agreeing to amend the constitution. It was out of nowhere. You see, the implementation is what caused the resistance. Also, we didn't like that clause where you said that we should be able to have political parties that will appoint and fire their MPs or expel them. I mean, that's too much power for a president to have. It wouldn't be fair if you had the power suddenly for you to be able to fire all your 87 MPs. That's just not right. Otherwise, inendela ndakofia. Deuce.